victory here with Sporting Kansas City?
I'm just, really, it was just a fun night. I mean, we played it at such a high level for most of the night. Didn't reward ourselves with that second goal, but certainly plenty of looks. And then, whether it was, on the defensive ends, the times they were dangerous, whether it's Steve Campbell, Mika with the block there towards the end, Eric on the goal line. There was still some, as well as we've played tonight, there were still a few moments of resiliency that we really needed to see out that game. They've got a serious attack, and they were always going to get a few looks. And again, the way we dealt with those just shows kind of who we are this year. And it's been a joy to be around, and it's been a fun ride, and I'm just pleased that we're going to keep it moving.
Thank you for that. We'll start here with Luis.
Coach, right here. I'm not trying to move on too quickly. I know you got to enjoy tonight, but now, you got to focus on the next game. You guys won 3 of the 17 road games this season. How do you translate the winning that you've been able to do here at home onto the road?
Well, I'd like to kind of put our road performance kind of in 2 halves, right? The first half of the season, it was very difficult for us. But, in the second half, there were some games that we showed some resolve and went away and won games in different ways. The Salt Lake or the Open Cup final or LA, they weren't, our second half away record was pretty good. So we have confidence that we can go and pull something off in LA or Seattle. We hung in there at LA, obviously, away, and in Seattle we played well for long stretches. So they're both tough games. You go away, it's very, very difficult. But again, I wouldn't count this bunch out.
David.
Hi, Ben. You spoke about the set pieces, and you scored one in the last match of the regular season, and tonight you get another one. How has that improved?
It's been, the last few games in the playoffs, we've had 2 so far. Salt Lake, we picked one up in a little bit of a third phase, but, just working at it. And it's a huge part of playoffs. We were good on the defensive end, and Franco coming up into the box has been an adjustment for us that we put him in the mix late in the season. We needed some guys that were fearless in there to go get their heads on something, and he has that mentality. So we used him in the back for most of the year to deal with transition moments because he's such a good defender. But we're now putting him in there, and tonight it was nice for him to get the goal, and I thought he played very well today.
Ben, I got a 2-parter for you. Number 1, did you think that was a handball on Eric on the goal line?
I haven't seen it. I don't care. But it's, the handball thing is so, I'm not really sure what a handball is anymore. And it was by his side, I'm assuming, and they said it was part of his body. I'm not sure. Probably one of those they could call or not. And we got the benefit of the doubt.
So the referee didn't explain the reasoning on the no.
No, and I didn't ask.
And then, after you guys had scored first in the previous 2 games and then, conceded an equalizer, just how were you feeling being in that position again?
Not very comfortable. And in particular after some of the moments where we didn't get the second. Corey has a good chance, and we have a couple 3v2s and 2v1s and service. And, each one of those you miss is, doubt creeps in a little bit. We talked about it at halftime, and what type of team do we want to be? Do we want to be a team that gets undisciplined now in the second half and lets teams back in, or do we want to be professionals about this and go about it in the right way? And that means we're seeing the game out in the right ways. And I still think we had some transition. They had some transition moments where we get caught a little bit too cute and too many numbers forward in the second half. But again, you live and die with that, with the way we play and the amount of possession that we've had today.
Hey, Coach. We can clearly hear the party going on next door.
I'm
Can you
going
tell
to
us
shut it down soon. We're a game in a few days.
Can you tell us how that camaraderie has helped this team throughout this whole season? Because it has been something that has also built up.
The camaraderie?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a neat group. It really is. It's like nothing I've ever had. There's a real freshness about them. It's a new group. Wins help, and things clicking on the field always helps teams gel. But there's a couple glue guys in there. They're just wacky enough that we can square off. We can argue, and it's emotional at times. But I think when overall it's organically it just has happened. I don't. I like to pride myself on culture and building a group, but I can't take a lot of credit for some of the organic relationships that happen, in a locker room or outside the sport, or even on the field sometimes. Coaches get a lot of credit for this stuff, but sometimes it's just relationships and players and putting them in good situations and kind of letting them do their thing. But tonight was a great night. Again, the way we played was just a lot of fun to watch. And I thought we posed them a lot of problems and could have scored a few more goals.
I wonder if you can share with us who got the game ball and why.
Well, I gave it to Franco for the goal, and I thought he played very well. But so many guys. Steve Clark, has been amazing all year, and he made 2 big saves for us again. Mika there's so many good players. Hector had a really high, a high level game, no surprise. And so just a lot of good performances, and that was what it was going to take tonight. People showing up and being at their best, or you don't get by Kansas City.
Coach, the team has not been to the Western Conference Finals since 2017. Potentially they could get Seattle and, thinking ahead but not too far ahead. Maybe could end the season in Cincinnati where you started it. How has the team prepared for all of that?
I don't know. We're not prepared for either of those teams. We're Cincinnati. That would be nice to be prepping for Cincinnati, but we'll watch the game tonight and figure out a game plan to go against 2 of the best teams in the league. Or one of them, but it'll be very, very difficult. But as I said before, I wouldn't count us out.
Coach, good evening and congratulations. You talked about the process, and I know you don't necessarily like that word, and how you've had to be flexible with the mindset you had coming in when you started and where you are today. Adapting to that, I guess, is part of coaching, right? Knowing the materials you have and how your team is growing and continuing to progress?
Yes, I think I've been public about this many times. The idea of what this was going to look like is very different than who we are right now and how we're going about it. And that's coaching, as you said. And that's, at DC, it's about sizing up your group. Of course, you want to play a certain way and you want to import players that fit your system. But this has been a new project, and there's all these players here, and fitting them in this puzzle and making it work has been a lot of fun. It has been a fun process, and I got a great staff. I got a really sharp staff behind me that is better in X's and O's than me.
Coach, but recognizing that is part of the growth, meaning there are some coaches that don't recognize that they have to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think that, yes. Are you trying to give me a compliment?
Kinda.
I'm not very good at compliments.
Ted Segal just gave you a huge compliment, by the way.
That's,
yes.
Well, we are in the we're on the finals of the Western Conference. There were moments where sometimes those adjustments spell themselves out, right? It's like, it's pretty obvious. Okay, no, you have to shift here because this isn't working. And that's usually what happens. This is not working, let's try this. And then you pivot again, and you keep doing it within, trying to put these guys in positions to have success and build these little relationships on the field that are where that connectivity is real. And the way it's all panned out, it's just been a real joy to watch.
Quickly, Coach, one of our colleagues mentioned 2017. There's been a lot of dark ages here in Houston. Fans, I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I'm sensing, are starting to believe, maybe more than believe. So, yeah, congratulations for that. And do you sense that? The city's feeling something we haven't felt for years.
Yeah, the crowds are growing. Each game that we've had, there's more people and more energy. And I think that's what this is about, too. This is part of why I came here. And this is why Pat and Asher and Ted Siegel put so much time and energy into this thing, because it's a new project and we believe in it and we want to build something that we're in positions to win trophies. So we're going to enjoy this now and hopefully take advantage of the situation we're in. But again, when the off season hits, it's about keeping this momentum and sustaining it, both on the field and off the field with awareness and exposure of our team growing again and kind of building back our this franchise. Good, thank you.
Coach, piggybacking off of that, at the beginning of the season, you guys mentioned that one of the focus of this season was to change the mentality of the team into a winning culture. And you mentioned the team has been able to win in many different ways, and the team has pulled it off now to be one win away from playing for the league title. In what ways have you seen that change, that culture change?
Well, we brought in winners. Now, you can only force it so much, and the best way to do it is just go grab guys that have been there. And Asher and Pat and the scouting department have done a great job of giving me some great tools to work with. So that's, I think, the start of it. And then, again, I think it's about being honest with ourselves and who we are and what we, what we offer each other. And it's, and again, wins help. Wins help, because without wins, whatever you're selling, eventually they're not going to buy. So you got to pick up some wins. We picked up some wins early, and that started the spiral. And the more the win, more confidence you get from your players. And again, what we're selling is something worth buying into.
Coach, can you just talk about the plan of attack going into the match, and then just how important it was to get those early looks and dominate the possession to build up to that first goal?
Well, they're so difficult once they get a hold of the ball in the overloads outside, Polito underneath. So the game plan was to have the ball as much as possible. And I wasn't sure what this game looked like. Usually I have a better idea of whether or not the opponents, where their line of pressure was going to be. But they were dropped off enough where I think it gave us the edge. And then we struggled a little bit once we got the goal and they started turning the screw. But it was about having the ball. It was about taking advantage of our midfield, isolations out wide. Again, but you can only prepare so much for these teams, because then the whistle blows and you have to adapt. And again, that was, I thought, a big part of this was kind of adapting throughout the game for us and having resiliency in a few big moments.
Coach, just going into it's a 1-0 victory, but how much does that make an effect on you, because it's so hard, you're on the edge the whole game, because it's like
I love 1-0s. 1-0s are just like beautiful from a coaching standpoint, because you know that how tight it is, and you know that there's going to be this grit and resolve that your team needs to win 1-0 games and shutouts and playoffs to keep that team off the board is pretty impressive. So our defense, I know offensively and kind of some of the rhythms that we're playing with now are getting a lot of attention, but our defense has been as good as anybody in the league, and so that another shutout here at home is again, in the playoffs, it's really impressive.
One thing you said going into the season, I mean, you must be ecstatic because going into the season, you never thought that you would have been where you're at now.
I said that?
I remember.
I didn't think,
I didn't record it, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we didn't set out this year to be in this position. It just wasn't necessarily in the cards. It would have been nice. But it was in the cards to be in the playoffs and be in the postseason, put ourselves in this situation to, again, maybe be in this position. But, you have to make the playoffs. And it was baby steps and building the foundation and culture and getting fitter, getting clearer, making sure these guys understand what we're going to be about. And but again, with each goal that we got, whether it was the Open Cup or playoffs, you just turn the page, and these guys want more. They have a nice spirit about them. And again, as much as it's a new team, I'll say it again, we have a lot of winners in there. We have a lot of guys that have been around the block and have trophies and they're at home and rings, and so they've been in these scenarios. So these moments aren't too big for them.
Just to elaborate that, Coach, about reaching to these instances where you guys are not expecting, or whether you were expecting or not, what say you? The fact is that you're getting here, this team has been over, a decade that has not reached the conference finals and even winning MLS Cup even longer than that. Does that take away the pressure, perhaps, that you come in as a black horse against LFC, against Seattle, that are more of at least in paper, the statistically favorites of the Western Conference Finals, and of course against teams in Ohio, Columbus, or Cincinnati, which will be rivals in MLS Cup?
I think we're used to that. All year we've been kind of that dark horse, and even when we get compliments, they hurt sometimes. It's like a backhanded compliment, and I mean, we hear that stuff, and it's good. We're still in that we're still in that space where we're trying to prove to everyone that we're real, and this helps. This helps. I think this puts us on the map a little bit more, and now it's about 2 games away, and I don't think the money's going to be on us again away at LA or Seattle, but that's okay. That's we can live with that, and we've punched above our weight, and hopefully we can do it another time here next week.
Personally, Black Stallions are more elegant than you.
I love Black Stallions.
Maggie, go ahead.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Maggie.
How are you? Good win.
Thank you.
Question. So Nelson early on fired 2 or 3 wide, then kind of backed off, and we really didn't see him firing shots. Was there any conversation at the half?
No, I think they adjusted. Anytime Nelson gets in these isolations, they bring another guy out wide, and after that, I think they did a pretty good job. But he had a good game, even though he didn't see out some of those plays, which would have been nice. He was still a real handful down that side, and him and Franco caused a bunch of different combinations and trouble for their right side. I thought, the only reason I subbed him was Brad's, experienced and had a little bit more of an engine at that period. I thought he was getting a little gassed and he wasn't getting back. And we had a few guys there towards that stretch that we just didn't. We didn't have the juice. I thought all the subs came in. Luis did a good job coming in. And who else did I sub in? Yeah, and Ibrahim gave us a really good shift. It was a handful, and he almost scored. Really had a great save. So all the subs did, and that's what you need in a playoff game. You need everybody to show up, and you need your subs to show up.
What do you think the score should have been tonight?
Ooh, 3-1 would have been okay, fitting.
Happy with what you got. All right, last question.
Mm-hmm.
Walking in, sawing it almost sold out. Were you a little relieved there were no beers on bin tonight?
Yeah. That's why weren't there. I ran out of money. That's why. I talked to Ted about that.
Coach, right next to Maggie, you said you're built. This is a team of winners out here and kind of built for this moment. Give us a feel of what that locker room's like before the game, because looking at you coming out onto the field, you look pretty relaxed.
They're relaxed. They don't. I worry that they're too relaxed constantly. It's just the way they're built. And over the, I don't work that way. In DC, I certainly didn't have that confidence if we were relaxed that we were going to go out and do well. It was kind of a different mentality that I had there. But this group, throughout the year, I've been worried that they're too loose and they're not dialed in. But they've proven time in, time out that's how they roll. That's just how they're loose and they're enjoying this. And I've learned a little bit I've learned to change a little bit. And it's helped me as a coach and kind of as a leader to enjoy this more than maybe I did before.
Is that the biggest change you've made?
I think
just
so.
Kind of or have there been other parts or pieces?
I think being president and a little bit of an appreciation for what I do and what this group does. I think they've taught me some things for sure about leadership this year. And again, wins help. This is still a honeymoon. We're winning games, and now we're in the Western Finals. So that is an easy thing to enjoy and have joy. If we were not in this position, I don't know if I'd be so relaxed walking out on the field.
Anything else for Ben?
All right, guys. Thanks for the year. Yeah, it was